morning, everyone. My name is Marcos Llope. I work at the Spanish Institute of Oceanography, and in Mission Atlantic, I'm responsible for the Canary Current case study, which goes well beyond the Canaries and includes Morocco and Western Sahara, Mauritania, Cabo Verde, Senegal and the Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau. I'm intentionally naming them all so that we are aware of the extent and complexity of the area. Diversity is always good, but at the same time, it presents a challenge. As you know, there are other case studies in Mission Atlantic, and while we classify the Canary Current operational readiness as a whole, it is really country dependent. This system is very diverse in several aspects. One of them is linguistic diversity, which is a small part of the cultural diversity. We have French-speaking countries like Morocco, Mauritania, or Senegal. The Canaries, where they speak American and Spanish. Cabo Verde and Guinea-Bissau, they speak Portuguese. And the Gambia, which is a former British colony, and as such, they speak English. But these are only the European languages, and apart from those, we have the local languages like Arabic, Berber, Wolof, Ser, Mandinga, and many, many others. But the most important differences are in development and capacity. There's a strong gradient here. We have countries like Morocco, which are very developed, and for example, you can see here the new oceanography vessel, but also in terms of policy development. They mention things like management plans, adaptive management, or eco-labels, and this is partly funded by the European Fishing Agreement with this country, which amounted to 208 million euros. Morocco has also big initiatives like the Blue Belt, which proves the autonomous capacity of the country. Then we have the Canary Islands, which as a European territory, all EU directives apply. So things like MSFD, Common Fisheries Policy, Habitats, etc., the traditional EU jargon. And there are other countries where there is a lower capacity. I'm showing this picture of Senegal because we have two Senegalese experts at the table with us today. The overall goal of Mission Atlantic is to produce an integrated ecosystem assessment, as Patricia mentioned in the introduction. Here I'm showing Mission Atlantic conceptual cycle, which is inspired by Phil Levine's IEO cycle, hence the resemblance. The first step consists of scoping or defining goals and targets. There is a methodology to assist this first step of the IEO cycle, and that is ODEM. I'm going to use the word ODEM several times during my presentation, but no worries, ODEM is just an acronym. It comes from another European project called Options for Delivering Ecosystem-Based Marine Management. There's a website if you want to learn more about the original project. ODEM follows the deep sea logic, and the focus is to map the sectors, pressures, and ecological characteristics that are out there for a given ecosystem. It is carried out by an expert panel assessment, and it is useful to prioritize. And the final goal is to distill complexity. You'll see how next. The ODEM process is a three-step process. Identify linkages, score them, and finally analyze them. The first step is to create the pressure pathways or linkage chains, which means the same. This is to identify which sectors cause which pressures and which pressures affect which part of the ecosystem. The first step consists of identifying whether those linkages exist in your area. And there is a list of those. Here you are the list of sectors or human activities. In the Canary Current we have all of them except from nuclear energy. This will be the list of pressures and the definitions, and the same for the ecological characteristics. These can be modified or further detailed if needed, and as such in the Canary Current we decided to separate mangroves from littoral sediment, as we thought it was important from a management perspective. The second step is scoring. The impact risk is made up of three components: the spatial extent or overlap, the frequency of occurrence, how often the impact occurs, and the degree of impact, or the sensitivity of the ecological characteristic regardless of the extent and frequency. These three must be evaluated independently as much as possible. And after all this process that can be long, particularly if you start from scratch, the good news is that all you get is a horrendogram. No matter what type of graph you choose to display the results, there are nicer versions like this core graph or this other horrendogram, but they are all difficult to interpret. That's why it is important, the third step, to analyze the results so that we can make sense of it. And this is actually our horrendogram, or the Horizon for the CCLME, or Canary Current Large Marine Ecosystem. At first sight, we can see that fishing has the most links among all the sectors. Then litter, we rank top within the pressures. This is because litter is produced by almost every single sector. And there, in terms of ecological components, we'll have the reptiles, because turtles are long-lived species and they are affected, for instance, by litter. They are caught as bycatch as well. They are affected by contaminants, and even the habitats are being threatened, and that's why all they are so connected. As I mentioned earlier, it is important to analyze the results so we can get a clearer picture. Here there is a list of sectors ranked according to the impact risk. Number 1, we have fishing, that stands out of the main sectoral activity here, which is no big surprise because, as you know, in this part of the world, both artisanal and industrial fishing are very important. In fact, the European Union has agreements with all the countries, and there are also bilateral agreements between China, Russia, and the different countries of the CCLME. Shipping runs second because we are in the middle of an important shipping route, and then we'll have agriculture, infrastructures, and sand extraction, which is a real problem in some parts of this of the Canary Current case study. If we look at pressures, litter comes number 1. I know we are not very original here. This is because it's almost everywhere and all the time. Then we have contaminants, species extraction, abrasion, sealing, and bycatch. With regards to the ecological characteristics, we have turtles that are very threatened, number 1, followed by marine mammals. I'm showing here manatees, seabirds for the same reasons as before, littoral sediment, which is a habitat that is in danger, and mangroves. The results I just showed are a snapshot of the current situation. But there is one thing that all of them cannot do, and that is to assess a sector that is not there yet. And there is a very important one coming up soon. And this is the Grand Top 2 Ahmeyim gas project off the coasts of Mauritania and Senegal, which is supposed to come into function earlier in 2023. It's gonna affect deep cold water corals, and it's probably going to have an impact or a trade-off with other human activities like shipping or fishing, for instance, let alone pollution or accidents. I am not an expert, but this project is supposed to be large in numbers, and particularly given the current world situation. And there is also a technical challenge because this gas field is very deep in the ocean, so there are building facilities to be able to extract the gas and transport it elsewhere in the world. You can check the details at British Petroleum website where I took this picture from. And there has been a good deal of controversy as well around this project. And that was my last slide. So thanks for watching, and if you want to get in touch, send me an email at this email address here. Bye.